viewers, my name is Damilari. In this lesson, we'll be looking at the topic sense organs. Sense organs. The first thing you should take note of is the word sense. That means trying to notice what is going on in the environment. Then organs, that's group of cells that are performing specific functions. So if you look at the eye, the nose, the ear, the tongue, and the skin, they are all sense organs. It means they are always sensitive to what is in the environment, using the cells in their found in them. Now, these sense organs, they have what we call sensory receptors. Receptor from the word receive. It means these sensory receptors, they are always receiving stimuli. Stimuli means what happens to the body. For example, there is a mechanical stimuli. So maybe there is a kind of touch on the body. That's a mechanical stimuli. So the receptors that is responsible for that is called mechanoreceptors. Then we also have electromagnetic, we have chemical, we have thermal. So the one that is responsible for heat, they call it thermoreceptors. The one responsible for chemicals, we call it chemoreceptors. The one responsible for light, we call it photoreceptors. So all these are being taken to the brain, because immediately these receptors have received this stimuli, they will detect it, convert it to impulse. Impulse means message in form of electrical impulse. Then they will send it to the brain so that the brain can interpret. Now let's start with the first sense organ, which is the skin. Skin is sensitive to touch, pressure, pain, cold, and heat. And there is a particular part of the skin, they call it Pachynia corpuscle. This one is sensitive to pressure. You can use the letter P from Pachynia to remember pressure. And then we also have the one we call Messner. But before we go to Messner, that Pachynia, take note, is found deepest in the skin. So since it's for pressure, then we also have the second one called Messner corpuscle. This Messner corpuscle is sensitive to touch. When you touch someone, so it is this part of the skin that will respond to it. Now let's look at the structure of the skin, as so that we can see the different layers of the skin. So there are three different layers of the skin. We have the one we call epidermis, that's the outermost layer. We have the one we call dermis, which is the middle layer. Then we also have the one we call endodermis or hypodermis, which is the innermost layer. As I said, the first one, epidermis, the outermost layer, as you can see from the what is on the screen. This is the outermost epidermis. Then the dermis, that's the middle layer. Then we have the hypodermis, which is called subcutaneous layer. So hypo is HYPO. So that is the innermost layer. So I'll first talk on the epidermis, which is the outermost layer. Take note that for the epidermis, this is another structure of the skin. This same epidermis is subdivided into three. Still, we have the horny layer, which is also called cornified, letter C, cornified. We have the granular layer, and we have the Malpighian layer. This Malpighian is also known as germinative, since the air is coming from it or is germinating from it outward. So these are the three different layers under only the epidermis, meaning that the three of them, they are still outside. So looking at these three layers, we have certain things we can use to explain epidermis, starting with letter E. E means external, so it means epidermis is the external part of the skin. Then for the P, P means protection. It means this is the part of the skin that protects. It also make the skin thick. So the external, as I said, external, and also is protecting. Then another thing about epidermis is that it has the shaft. You can use letter S to remember shaft. The S shaft, that's this air coming out, that's the shaft. It's also found outside. Then another one is we have melanin. You can use M to remember melanin. So melanin is also found at the epidermis, especially in this Malpighian layer. So there's what we call melanocytes, the one that is producing the pigment for skin coloration. That's the cell producing the pigment for cell coloration. So it's found at the Malpighian layer of the epidermis. Then apart from that, there's another one called keratin. Keratin is also found at the epidermis region. So when you look at the keratin, you can it's always thickening the skin, make the skin thick, as you can see in our fingers. So the fingernails is thick because of the keratin. The hair, our hair also is it has the keratin keratin in it. So meaning that the keratin is one that makes the body, the skin thick, and also it can make it to be flexible, like bending. So that's for the first layer, which is the epidermis. As I said, from letter E, external layer, P, protection, then the M, melanin, the S, that's where the shaft is. Then we also said there is keratin in this epidermis layer. And also you can use letter D for dead. That means the cells outside that they can easily die, the external part of the skin can easily die, so that the dermis can take over. So once again, E for external, epidermis is the external part of the skin. P, it can protect the skin. Then D, it contains certain dead layers of the cells so that the dermis can take over. Then the M, it has melanin that determines our coloration, skin coloration. And not only skin coloration, it's also for protection of ultraviolet, so that when sun is coming, it's just like a protective part that is protecting the skin. So that's the melanin. Then the S, as I said, the S shaft is also there. Now let's move to the dermis. The dermis is the middle layer, so the middle layer, so you can use letter D for deep. If E is external, D is deep. That means when you go deep down into the epidermis, you see the dermis. So D for deep. So when you go deep down, you see the dermis. Now, what are the things in the dermis? We have the sweat gland. So the sweat gland will be producing sweat. As you can see it, this is sweat gland going up. So the sweat gland in connection with sweat ducts. Sweat duct is actually the passage where the sweat will pass, but the sweat gland is one that will produce the sweat. Then the sweat can keep coming up till it comes out from this pore. So it means the pore is also part of the epidermis. So you can still use that letter P for pore. So the pore where the sweat will come out from. And as I said, dermis, so that's where we have the sweat gland. You can use S from the dermis to remember the sweat gland and the sweat duct. You can also use the letter D for the sweat ducts. So apart from sweat duct, there's another thing in the dermis, and that is the place where blood vessels are coming from. As you can see, this is the blood vessel. So blood vessel in terms of passage of blood, so they are all found in this dermis layer. Maybe there is need to move any substances to the skin, so it is in the dermis we have the blood vessel. Then apart from the blood vessel, it is also a region where the air erects from. We have what we call erector of muscle. So, or let's start with the air follicle. If you come down to this layer, so this air follicle, it means the air follicle is starting from the starting point of the air is from the dermis. So air starts from the dermis and then comes out to the epidermis. So it means in the dermis layer we have the air follicle, but in the epidermis we have the air shafts. So the air shaft, that means the one that points out, while the dermis is the air follicle, the source where the air is starting from. So that is for the second layer. Then we round off with the third layer, which is the hypodermis. But before I move to the hypodermis, there's another thing about epidermis. Okay, it's like I've mentioned that's for the keratin. That keratin is what makes our skin thick. So just like in the finger, we may see how thick is it, the hair. So, and also make our skin to be thick. So that's for the epidermis. Now the last one we should be looking at is the hypodermis. Hypodermis is also known as adipose layer. Adipose, when you hear adipose tissue, that's where the fat is. It means the innermost layer of our skin is called adipose, where there is fat, and the essence of this fat is for cushioning effect. That's CUSH, cushioning. That means when there is a pressure, there is any kind of pressure on the body, so that there will be no shock. So it will cushion against shock. So that's for the adipose layer. Then if you look at the other structure above, so this is another structure where we can use to summarize all I've said earlier, that from the epidermis there are three different layers. That's the conified layer, then the germinative layer, the granular layer. So this conified is the outermost, which is also known as the onion layer. So conified, also known as onion layer, you can use CH. The conified is also known as the outermost. Then after the conified, we also have the granular. The granular is one that follows the conified. Then we have the germinative. Don't forget, the germinative is where the melanin is. So let's now look at the notes under this skin. That what are the things we need to know about the skin? The first thing is that the skin is the largest organ in our body. We have several organs, so it's because skin is found everywhere, so it's the largest organ. Skin can protect our body, it can sense sensation, it can regulate certain things in our body. So, and another thing, layers, which I've mentioned earlier, epidermis, we call it the outer layer that is protecting us. Dermis is another one, which I call the middle layer, where we have the nerves, blood, nerves pass, that is for relating with the brain and spinal cord. Blood vessels are there, glands like the sweat glands that are there. Then the hypo, which I call the deepest layer. So that's where there is cushioning against pressure because of the fat, and also insulation. It insulates. So that's for the hypodermis. Now the epidermis, let's take it one after the other. Epidermis contains melanocytes that is composed of keratinized cells. So it contains melanocytes. That means that pigment that is producing the melanin is the pigment producing that is producing coloration. So there is no blood vessel in this until you get to dermis. So I've said it produces melanin. Now let's go to dermis. Dermis, it has collagen and elastin fibers for strength and flexibility. So there is collagen in the dermis, which is the middle layer. So you can just say C and D to remember that there is collagen in dermis. Then it houses sweat glands. So we said that sweat is coming from there. The glands, we can also say there is sebaceous gland. We said dermis, there is gland in dermis, so it can be sweat gland, it can also be sebaceous. Sebaceous is oil, it can secrete oil. Hair follicles, where hair is coming from, so we mentioned that. Nerve endings, all these nerves connecting to the brain is there. Rich blood supply for thermoregulation, to regulate the temperature of the body. So the blood will come for the regulation. And how will the blood regulate it inside the skin? So we are coming back to that, because there's something we call vasoconstriction, vasodilation. When you say constriction, that means it should reduce the size of the blood vessel. It should reduce it. So by reducing it, there will be no room for heat to go out. So like it will reduce the release of heat. So that's vasoconstriction. But vasodilation, it will widen the passage of the blood so that heat will be released. So meaning that will be in hot days, when everywhere is hot, vasodilation will take place so that it will open way for enough heat. But vasoconstriction is in cold days. You can use letter C. So it will reduce the passage of the blood so that heat will not be lost. Now let's also look at hypodermis. Hypodermis is made up of fats, as I've said the other time, and connective tissues. So it acts as shock absorber because of pressure. Energy is also there. Remember, fats can produce energy. So, and also it can maintain our body temperature. Even if you notice that when there is cold and you rub your body with cream, so your temperature will be regulated. So the same way, this can regulate our body temperature. What are the functions of the skin? Skin can protect. So skin is there as a protective cover. So it can protect against pathogen, against ultraviolet ray injury. When they hit you, so it will protect. Or when sun is shining, ultraviolet. Then the skin is always sensing. It's for sensation. It can detect touch. When someone touch you, pressurize you, put pain on your body or temperature, it can sense it. So thermoregulation, it can regulate your sweat, your temperature using sweat. How will it do that? That's evaporation. When you are sweating and the sweat begins to evaporate, you feel a kind of coolness, so as the blood is flowing. Skin can also excrete, like it can remove waste such as sweat from our body. It can produce vitamin D, especially when it is exposed to sunlight. So once again, function of the skin, we have for protection, for sensation, for thermoregulation, for excretion, and also to produce vitamin. You can say maybe PST, maybe Pastor F, to remember the functions of the skin. Then sensory receptors. We have mentioned this earlier, that those parts of the skin that are sensitive to different stimuli, like we have mechanoreceptors, sensitive to mechanical touch or pressure. Then thermoreceptors, sensitive to heat or temperature. We also have the we also have another receptor we call nociceptors. So this one detects pain. Then visual. So visual, that's diagram of the sensory receptors in the skin. So let's also look at from those things I've said earlier, thermoregulation, regulating temperature in our body. So first thing, how is temperature regulated in our skin? When we sweat, the sweat will be evaporated, it will dry, then your body will become cool. Vasodilation, like I said, in hot days, when everywhere is hot, there will be dilation. That means the blood vessel will widen, open space for heat to be released. Then vasoconstriction, that's during cold days, when everywhere is cold, the blood vessel will be narrow so that heat will be retained. Then skin can be a protective barrier. As I've said earlier, it can protect against any harmful microorganism. It can shield against ultraviolet because of the melanin that is there. It can act as a mechanical barrier against injury so that one will not be affected. Then skin and immune defense. So part of the immune system that we have in the epidermis. So it can help to prevent against infection or any kind of disease. So that's what we call Langerhans cells. Langerhans cells is part of the immune system. So that one is at the epidermis, so that before bacteria can enter, it will fight against that bacteria. So that's Langerhans cell. So that's at the external parts. Then first line of defense against pathogen. So it means if you go deeper, there is some immune system there. So we have also mentioned skin and sensation. It can detect anything from the environment. Then plays a critical role in tactile perception. It can communicate sensory signals to the brain. Then skin color, I've mentioned that also, that the melanin also determines skin coloration. When there's too much melanin in the body, the person become dark. But when there is no enough, then the person will be albino when there is no enough melanin. Carotene also help the skin to be colorful, and that's why some people use cream that has carotene. Hemoglobin also play great part. Then there are genetic factors and environmental factors that can affect the skin. So that means when there is a change in the gene, the skin can be affected, or when one is exposed to maybe sunlight, it can also affect the color of the skin. So then there are some conditions in the skin, like diseases, like what we have acne, when there is an inflammation on the sebaceous gland. So when there is inflammation, it means the oil will just be coming out in excess, and that's acne, just like pimples. Then eczema, that's a chronic skin inflammation, so that you see something like red spots on the body, especially maybe when one is making use of chalk. So eczema is a chronic skin inflammation. Then there's another one called psoriasis. So this is an autoimmune condition causing rapid skin cell growth. That skin cell growth will just be rapid, very fast growing. So that's psoriasis. So rapid, you can use the ray for rapid cell growth on the skin. Then skin cancer. Skin can generate cancer. That's abnormal cell growth due to ultraviolet damage. Once the ultraviolet damages the skin, so you just see some abnormal growth of cells. So that is skin cancer. It means once you are exposed to too much sun can cause skin cancer, because some cell will just be growing abnormally. Then we have what we call skin aging. That's natural aging process which leads to wrinkle and reduced elasticity. When one is growing old, the skin can begin to wrinkle. and then it will affect the elasticity. It will not be able to expand the way it ought to expand. That's skin aging. Then the factors is when body is exposed to ultraviolet, or when someone is smoking, and genetics factor can also affect it. Then sun is also another important thing in our body. So when you look at the sun, it can it can help, and it can also fight against the body. When you use your sunscreen, there will be a protection against the sun. When you wear protective clothing and sunglasses, it will protect against the sun. And when you limit your body from exposing to different sunlight, especially in the day, so it will also protect your body from the screen. So using of sunscreen, protective clothing, then not exposing yourself to the sun. Then there's also a skincare routine, like cleansing the body. It will remove dirt, remove oil. When you moisturize it, it will hydrate your skin. That means pouring water on the body. Exfoliate, remove dead skin cells. It means the skin cells, the dead one, when it's being removed, we call it exfoliation. Then protection, when you apply sunscreen daily. So this is a skincare routine. Then role of diet in skin health. So what you eat, like we have hydration, is key. That means taking water every time, so it will help the skin. Then eating food rich in vitamin A, C, E, omega-3 fatty acid, they will help the skin. So vitamin A, C, E will help the skin. Then avoid excessive sugar and processed food. So excessive sugar and processed food can affect the skin. Skin and mental health. Stress can exacerbate conditions like acne and eczema. So when there's too much stress, it can give room for eczema, give room for acne. Then healthy skin can boost confidence. When your skin is healthy, you'll be confident, and even mental well-being. So advances in skin researches. Advances in skin research, like certain research that has gone forth about the skin, is there are some developing artificial skin, especially when there is accident, so they can develop artificial skin. Then another thing, breakthrough in skin regenerations and wound healing. Sometimes when the body sustain injury, the skin can regenerate a new one. Innovations in skincare products and treatment. Some people make skincare products to treat the skin. Then fun fact about skin: average adult skin covers 22 square feet. That's the size of the skin, 22 square feet. It regenerates approximately every 28 days. That's every one month. So there is always a kind of renewal of our skin every one month. And it contains about 11 miles of blood vessels inside it. Skin disorders and diagnosis. When you look at those that study skin, they call them dermatologists. So they specialize in skin health. Dermatologists specialize in skin health. Then diagnostic tools. This include dermoscopy and biopsy. These are the tools they use in searching for the skin, or in working on the skin. They call it dermoscopy and then biopsy. So trying to know what happened in the skin, trying to find out what is going on in the skin. Then the skin microbiome. Trillions of microorganisms live on the skin. There are a lot of, so that's microbiome, small organisms in the skin. So they are microbiomes. Then they contribute to skin health and protection. Then disruptions can lead to skin conditions. There are cultural significances of skin. Perceptions of skin color and beauty vary globally. Perceptions of skin color and beauty vary globally. Then that means what people perceive about the color of their skin. So it may be as a result of exposure or maybe genetics. So different people with different perception about their skin color, about their beauty. The importance of skin care in different cultures. Some people, they value the skin in some cultures. So another thing is skin and technology. There are wearable skin sensors, monitor health metrics. So wearable skin sensors, these ones will be sensing what is going on in the skin. There's what we call 3D printing technology. 3D printing technology for skin grafts. We also have AI in dermatology that will be studying the skin to diagnose any skin condition. Then environmental impact on skin. environmental like pollution, it can accelerate skin aging. Once the environment is polluted and one is exposed to it, the skin can get aged. Then proper skincare can mitigate environmental damage. So once you take care of your skin, there will be no damage in your skin. So as we round off, case study, impact of ultraviolet exposure. The effect of prolonged exposure without protection. Once you are exposing your body to ultraviolet, it can also affect the skin. So here we have looked at the sense organ and skin as a case study. Thanks for listening.